Well, here we go again. It seems like there is a concerted effort to wait till they know people are going to get pissed off at something they're going to do. That then, and only then, does Hasbro start shipping out things that they know people have been waiting for. I have gotten really fed up with Hasbro as of late, with their price hikes and their QC issues and this whole Ghost Rider HasLab complete rip-off thing and everything else. Ended up canceling a whole bunch of pre-orders. This one I did not cancel, and sure enough, a week after I've just about gotten fed up, it shows up. So, we've got the first appearance, Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man, that I just got for my pre-order back in, I don't know, June, something like that. I can't remember. So we've got him here, and we are going to crack him open, and we're going to hope that what is inside here is a good, solid figure. Let's hope. Anyway, let's crack this guy open and see what we've got. Alright, so got him out of the package, and I went over this guy with a fine-tooth comb, okay? Like, seriously. I have seen far too many reports of QC issues specifically coming out of Marvel Legends in this new plastic-free packaging. So I went over everything, checking for bowed legs, bowed arms, messed up paint, all that kind of stuff, and I'm pleased to report that I didn't find anything. So that's good, but we'll go into more detail on that here in just a minute. First of all, let's look at the accessories we've got. So we've got our web effect there. We've got our web wings right there for under the arms, and then of course we got a couple other web wings for when his arms are folded up. And of course we've got a few extra hands here. We've got fisted hands right there. We got open hands right here for holding onto the web, and we've got wall crawling hands. And then of course the hands I've got on him are his thwip hands, because it's Spider-Man and I want thwip hands on my Spider-Man. There you go. Alright, let's take a closer look at him. And I gotta say, one thing about the buck itself, I do like this much better than the retro carded buck. That thing has never sat well with me. It made Peter Parker look like a bodybuilder. And Peter Parker's a superhero. He is Spider-Man. He does have enhanced strength, but he's not a huge guy. He's kind of like just an average, pretty in shape guy, but not huge. And this is much better. He does not look ridiculously big like that retro Spider-Man buck does, and this is just much better. Paint apps on this thing look nice, very crisp. As far as the webbing goes, pretty much everywhere. Feet, arms, hands, front, back. The head looks really nice, well done. The paint on the eyes is good. The logo on the front and on the back is very nice, very crisp. I don't see any paint slop anywhere. No lines that are out of place, nothing. It's just done very well. Now, as far as the sculpt goes, I mean, there's not a lot to this guy. You know, as with most Spider-Man, especially the newer ones that they don't, you know, mold in the web lines on. So really there's not a lot to him. It's basically just paint. It's a buck with paint on it, and there's no details on the figure itself. So should be pretty simple to do, and it looks like they did do that. So I appreciate, I guess, them doing the bare minimum. So that's something. But in general, it's good. As far as articulation goes, you know, because we've got the butterfly joints as most Spider-Man do. Right now, we got good articulation there. We got bicep swivels. We got double jointed elbows. You know, you've got the double jointed knees here. You've got the thigh swivels. You got the hips that come out to here. You got the calf swivels here. You got the feet that go down, and we've got some kick to the left and to the right. His head goes down really well. Head comes back really nicely. I do like this reverse ab crunch with this torso dumbbell joint up here. I think it looks really good. I think it works really well. Allows him to really bend over very far and to bend back, seemingly even maybe a little bit farther than he bends forward. I'm not sure. So articulation is good. It's on point. So all in all, so far, I am pleasantly surprised given the issues that Hasbro has had recently. I was expecting a train wreck here, and I got a good, decent figure. Again, not a lot of details. This is a very, very simple, basic sculpt, but the things that have been done to it, paint, articulation, have been done really, really well. I do appreciate that. So now we're going to compare him to a few other figures, mostly Spider-Man, and then we're going to do, we're going to try a couple of head swaps and see how this guy looks. Alright, so first up we're going to compare it to Pizza Spidey. And Pizza Spidey has long been a fan favorite Spider-Man. Mine is a little old and beaten up, that is true. But he is still one of my favorite Spider-Man, just because I like the more lanky look of this figure. But I do have to say, even though the new one is not as lanky, I do like that he's a little bit shorter, because I think that somehow fits better with Peter Parker. So all in all, I'm actually kind of digging the new one a little bit better than Pizza Spidey. Alright, now we got to compare it to the old school Toy Biz first appearance Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. And of course, this guy's got some issues. He's old, to say the least. The ball joint hips, the waist and torso that just looks off and just not proportionate at all. There's just a lot wrong with this old figure. Now, don't get me wrong, I love it. You know, teeny tiny, over-articulated hands and fingers and all. I do like this figure a lot, and it's not going anywhere in my collection, but I think it is a safe bet to say that the newer one is definitely superior. Alright, so now for the new retro body, or at least what was new a couple of years ago that we've seen used several times now. This one, of course, being on the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, and this guy's just too jacked to be Peter Parker. I mean, look at the thighs on this dude, right? Like, Captain America? Sure. Peter Parker? No. It looks like Captain America or Frank Castle or somebody put on the Spider-Man suit. That's what this looks like. And while in my own little headcanon I can make an excuse for it if it's Ben Reilly and not Peter Parker, even though, you know, clone stuff, yeah, I'm still not a fan of this buck, like, at all for Spider-Man. I mean, don't get me wrong, paint's great, articulation is great, it looks good, just not for Spider-Man. So if we're talking about Spider-Man, I definitely like the new one better. Alright, now for one of my absolute favorite, this is like in my top 3 Spider-Man figures ever, and that's Ultimate Spider-Man. That is kid 15-year-old Spider-Man. And there's one thing I have to point out here, and that is that technically Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man, first appearance Spider-Man, is supposed to be 15-year-old Spider-Man, yet clearly what we have here is a kid and a full-grown adult, even though technically they should both be kids. So I'm just pointing that out to Hasbro there. Might be something they want to think about, but still, this is a good figure. I do like it, even next to one of my favorite Spider-Man. I'm still going to prefer this Ultimate Spider-Man as far as, you know, my list of my favorite Spider-Man action figures, but it's still solid, and I think it works. Alright, so now for one of my absolute hands-down favorite Spider-Man figures ever. And that, of course, is this version of Scarlet Spider. And I know somebody out there is screaming, but dude, like, there's a better Scarlet Spider out there. He's newer, better sculpt, better articulation. I get it. I do. But I don't care. I've never felt the need to upgrade this guy. I just love this figure so much. And I don't know what it is. Ball joint hips and all. I love this figure. Maybe it's the great head sculpt with the bug eyes molded in, painted red. Maybe it's the angular cuts on the joints and the musculature. I don't know what it is about this sculpt, but it just looks more like a comic book character than any other Spider-Man figure that I have or have seen, and I just love it. Now, from an unbiased point of view, yes, the new Spider-Man is a better figure. This new first appearance Spider-Man is better in just about every way. Sculpt, articulation. I won't say paint because they're both fairly simple paint designs that are done very well. But yes, the new one is a better figure. I just love this Scarlet Spider. And then finally, my absolute favorite Spider-Man that I own. I don't know why, I just love it. He's too skinny. He looks too gangly, but for some reason, I just love this old school figure. And he does have newer articulation and no ball joint hips. Either way, I love him. I don't care. And from the perspective, again, of trying to be unbiased, this newer figure is way, way, way better, but that doesn't change my mind. I do like this older figure just a little bit more. Alright, so now it's time for head swaps, and first up we do have the bearded Peter Parker head that came with the Mr. Universe or Captain Universe or Captain whatever version of Spider-Man, and while it looks good, I think it's just a little too big. Alright, now we have the retro-carded Ben Reilly Spider-Man head on here, and I do think it works as far as proportionally. I don't know about the red. The red's just a little brighter on this Ben Reilly head than the red on the body, but I guess you could make it work if you do want a Spider-Man with a considerably bigger jaw. And of course, you know we had to try the pizza Spidey head, and I love this one. So far, this is definitely my favorite. Fits absolutely perfectly, with the exception of the fact the red is just a hint duller on this head than the rest of the suit, but I still think it works. And just because this suit has black in it, I wanted to try this one out. This is the Spider-Man Noir head, and I gotta be honest, I think this is pretty cool. You might not, but I actually do, so I want to try just one more thing. And here we are. I wanted to try this one thing, and yes, it looks a little bit goofy, but I can also see the potential here. If you swapped out the arms with some black arms or jacketed arms, this actually would be pretty sweet as far as I'm concerned. Alright guys, let's talk about price here real quick, and this is one of the big controversies other than plastic-free packaging and QC issues that is going on right now when it comes to Hasbro, and that is price. This thing right now is selling for around 28 bucks. Go back a year ago, this thing would have been selling for 20. That's almost a 50% increase. And then once you pay tax, and then depending on where you buy it, if you have to pay shipping, you may be paying up to $35 to get this guy, because chances are it's not going to be very easy to find him in stores. Most of the time, Spider-Man figures are not peg warmers, and people usually buy them up, whether that's to resell them or for their own personal collection. Either way, he's going to be a little harder to find in a retail location. Therefore, you might have to buy him online, and $28 to $35 is getting pretty damned expensive. Now, I got this guy with free shipping when I pre-ordered him back in June for 26 bucks, and so I didn't pay a lot. Even after paying taxes, I was still at around $28 total. Is it worth it at that price? Well, ultimately, that's up to you. For me, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and while I did so in protest, I did buy it, and when I went through over the last few weeks and started canceling a whole bunch of pre-orders from Marvel Legends, this is one of the ones I decided not to cancel. So, yeah, I don't like the price increase, but same time, I really wanted this figure, so call me a hypocrite if you want. That's fine, I probably am, but I think it was worth it for me. However, I like having a huge shelf full of all the different versions of Spider-Man I can get my hands on. You may not. You may just be looking for one particular Spider-Man for your shelf, or maybe just a couple for a couple of different shelves. I don't know. You have to make that determination for yourself. So, it might not be worth it to you to spend $28 to $35 on this guy. But I gotta be honest, putting price aside, this is a really good Spider-Man figure. I mean, they did a really good job. Despite all the crap that we can talk about when it comes to the Marvel Legends team over at Hasbro right now, this is a really, really good figure. And keeping my personal preference for certain figures off the table, this possibly, maybe, potentially be the best Spider-Man figure in my 38, 39 Spider-Man figure collection, just from a purely unbiased point of view. And that's saying something. So, is it worth it? I'll leave that to you. It was worth it for me. At the very least, well, you should at least consider it.